The unexpected customer. Maya Chen's wrench slipped from her fingers, clattering against the workshop floor as the entire building shuddered. She steadied herself against the hull of the half-dismantled agricultural drone she'd been repairing, her eyes drawn to the window where an impossible light show painted the desert sky in shades of violet and electric blue. "That's new," she muttered, reaching for the tablet that monitored her perimeter sensors. The readings made no sense. Energy signatures unlike anything she'd ever seen, atmospheric disturbances that shouldn't be possible in the thin Martian atmosphere. Maya had chosen this location for her workshop precisely because nothing ever happened here, 300 kilometers from the nearest colony dome. Now something was definitely happening. The ground trembled again, and this time Maya caught the distinctive whine of failing engines. She'd heard that sound enough times to recognize it in any vessel, apparently even ones that weren't supposed to exist. Whatever was up there was coming down, and it was coming down hard. Maya grabbed her emergency kit and sealed her environment suit. The Martian night was brutally cold, but she'd learned long ago that interesting opportunities rarely waited for convenient moments. As she stepped out onto the rust-colored landscape, her helmet's enhanced vision caught the vessel's descent trajectory. It was going to land, or crash, less than a kilometer from her workshop. The ship was like nothing she'd ever seen, its hull seeming to shift and flow like liquid metal, even as it plummeted toward the ground. There was no obvious propulsion system, no visible control surfaces, yet somehow it managed to level out just before impact, settling onto the Martian soil with surprising grace for something that was clearly damaged. Maya approached cautiously, her suit's sensors working overtime to analyze the vessel. The outer hull temperature was impossibly low, as if it had absorbed the cold of deep space and refused to let it go. Patterns of light rippled across its surface in complex, seemingly random sequences. "Hello," she called out over her suit's external speakers, keeping a safe distance. "I'm Maya Chen. I run this repair facility. Do you need assistance?" For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a section of the hull simply ceased to be, creating an opening where moments before there had been seamless metal. A figure emerged, and Maya's breath caught in her throat. She'd expected a suit of some kind, but the beam before her moved through the thin Martian atmosphere as if it were Earth normal conditions. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but that's where any similarity to Earth life ended. Its body seemed to be composed of interconnected geometric shapes that constantly shifted and realigned, like a living puzzle seeking its optimal configuration. "Engineer Maya Chen," the being spoke, its voice somehow bypassing her suit's audio systems and manifesting directly in her mind. "Your reputation for solving impossible problems has reached far beyond your solar system." Maya blinked, trying to process that statement. "I fix broken machines, that's all. And I'm pretty sure I've never worked on anything like your ship." "No human has," the being agreed. "I am Nexus 9 Alpha, a Vex Pathfinder. We have searched countless systems for someone with the particular combination of skills and perspective we require. Your species' ability to adapt existing technologies in novel ways is unique in our experience." "You've been studying us?" Maya asked, her mind racing with implications. "We have been watching humanity's technological development with great interest. Your solutions are often inefficient, occasionally dangerous, but invariably creative. You see possibilities where we see only established patterns." Maya crossed her arms. "So what exactly do you want from me?" The geometric patterns making up Nexus 9 Alpha's form shifted into a new configuration. "Initially, we require repairs to our vessel's quantum probability drive, but that is merely the beginning. We wish to offer you a position as Chief Innovation Engineer for the Vex Collective." "You want to hire me?" Maya couldn't help but laugh. "To do what exactly?" "To help us build something that has never existed before, a bridge between mechanical precision and organic creativity. To create technologies that even we cannot imagine." The being's form shifted again. "We offer knowledge beyond human understanding in exchange." Maya looked back at her workshop, Then at the alien vessel. Every instinct honed over years of engineering work told her that this ship's technology was far beyond her current capabilities. But those same instincts had never let her walk away from an interesting problem. "Let me look at your ship first," she said finally. "I want to understand exactly what I'm getting into before I agree to anything more." A prudent approach, Nexus 9 Alpha agreed. "Though I suspect you will find it difficult to resist the possibilities once you understand them." As Maya followed the being into the ship, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into something far bigger than a simple repair job. The interior was a maze of flowing metal and pulsing energy conduits, technologies that seemed to defy the basic laws of physics as she understood them. "Your ship," she said, running her scanner over a section of wall that seemed to phase in and out of normal space-time. "It's not just damage, is it? You're pushing it to do things it wasn't designed for." "Perceptive," Nexus 9 Alpha acknowledged. "We have reached the limits of our current technological paradigm. We can refine, we can perfect, but we cannot leap. We cannot imagine what has never been. That is why we need you." Maya nodded slowly, her mind already beginning to analyze the problems before her, seeing potential solutions that probably broke all sorts of physical laws. "Show me everything," she said. "Let's see what's possible when we combine your precision with human creativity." The Vex Pathfinder's form rippled in what might have been satisfaction. Neither of them yet realized that this partnership would reshape not just their understanding of technology, but the very future of both their species. The blueprint, a holographic display floating in Maya's workshop, twisted and reformed, showing impossibly complex schematics that seemed to exist in more dimensions than she could properly perceive. 3 weeks had passed since the Vex ship's arrival, and each day brought new revelations that challenged everything she thought she knew about engineering. "So these conduits," Maya gestured at a section of the diagram that seemed to fold in on itself, "they're not just carrying energy, they're actually manipulating probability at the quantum level." "Correct." Nexus 9 Alpha's geometric form shifted slightly, a movement Maya had begun to associate with approval. "The quantum probability drive doesn't move the ship through space so much as it selects the probability where the ship has already arrived at its destination." Maya rubbed her temples. "But that's not what's failing, is it? The drive works fine for normal space travel. You're trying to push it beyond its design limitations." "We seek to expand its capabilities," the Vex acknowledged. "To move not just through space, but through possibility itself. To select not just where we are, but what we might become." Maya stood up from her workbench, pacing the length of her workshop. The Martian sunset painted the room in shades of rust and gold through the reinforced windows. "You're talking about manipulating reality itself. That's not just engineering anymore. That's playing with forces we barely understand. Which is precisely why we need human insight." Nexus 9 Alpha's mental voice carried an undertone Maya hadn't heard before, something almost like excitement. "Our species has perfected the art of working within established parameters. We can refine technologies to their theoretical limits, but we cannot conceive of entirely new parameters." Maya stopped at her favorite diagnostic terminal, fingers drumming against its surface. "Show me the base code for the probability drive again," she said finally. "Not the operational protocols. I want to see the fundamental assumptions it's built on." The holographic display shifted, showing strings of alien mathematics that had taken Maya days to begin understanding. But now she saw something she hadn't noticed before. "Your entire system is built on binary certainties," she murmured. "Everything has to be absolutely true or absolutely false. But reality is messier than that." Maya's fingers flew across her terminal, making adjustments to the alien equations. "What if instead of trying to force probability into discrete states, we worked with its natural tendency to exist in multiple states simultaneously? Not just quantum superposition, but something more fluid." The geometric patterns making up Nexus 9 Alpha's form became more complex, shifting faster. "You propose to embrace uncertainty rather than eliminate it. This is not how we think." Exactly, Maya grinned. You've been trying to perfect a system that inherently resists perfection. But what if that resistance isn't a bug? What if it's a feature? What if the key to expanding the drive's capabilities isn't about more precise control, but about learning to surf the waves of probability itself? She pulled up another display, this one showing her initial sketches for modifications to the drive's core systems. Look, if we reconfigure these probability matrices to work with quantum fluctuations instead of against them, we could potentially achieve effects your current system can't even theoretically produce. It wouldn't be as precise, but it would be far more adaptable. This approach contains significant unknowns, Nexus 9 Alpha observed. The potential for unintended consequences is exactly why it might work, Maya finished. You can't explore new possibilities without accepting some level of uncertainty. That's what human engineering is all about. We try things, we fail, we learn, we adapt. We don't just follow established patterns, we create new ones. The Vex Pathfinder was silent for a long moment, its form slowly shifting through configurations Maya had never seen before. Your proposal is dangerous, it said finally, but fascinating. The implications extend far beyond mere technological advancement. Maya nodded, her excitement tempered by a growing awareness of just how far-reaching those implications might be. This isn't just about making your ship's drive more powerful, is it? This could change how your entire civilization approaches technology, maybe even how you see reality itself. Yes, Nexus 9 Alpha's mental voice carried a weight that made Maya shiver slightly, which is why certain elements within the collective may resist such changes. Change brings uncertainty, and uncertainty is exactly what you came to me for, Maya pointed out. You said you wanted human creativity, human insight. Well, this is it. We don't just think outside the box. We question whether the box needs to exist at all. She turned back to her terminal, fingers hovering over the controls. The question is, are you really ready for that kind of change? Because once we start down this path, there's no going back to your old way of doing things. The geometric patterns of Nexus 9 Alpha's form settled into a configuration Maya had never seen before, something that seemed simultaneously more ordered and more chaotic than its usual appearance. We are committed to this course, it said. But I must warn you, success may bring challenges neither of us can yet predict. Maya smiled, already beginning to implement her modifications to the drive's base code. That's what makes it interesting. Now let me show you how humans handle uncertainty. As she worked, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't just redesigning a propulsion system. She was helping to reshape the future of two civilizations. The question was, would that future be what either of them expected? The price of progress. Maya stood in what the Vex called a probability chamber, watching as waves of possibility rippled through the air around her. 2 months of work had transformed their ship's systems from rigid certainties into something far more fluid and powerful, perhaps too powerful. The latest test results exceed all projected parameters. Nexus 9 Alpha's mental voice carried an unfamiliar edge of emotion. The modifications you've implemented, they allow for probability manipulation on a scale we had theorized but never achieved. Maya watched as a simple metal cube in the center of the chamber simultaneously existed in multiple states, solid, liquid, gas, and several phases she couldn't even name. That's what you wanted, isn't it? The ability to reshape reality itself. Yes, but the Vex Pathfinder's geometric form flickered briefly. The implications are more extensive than initially calculated. The collective has expressed concern. Maya's eyes narrowed. Over the past weeks, she'd learned to read subtle shifts in the Vex's communications. What kind of concern? Before Nexus 9 Alpha could respond, new patterns of light filled the chamber. 3 more Vex materialized, their forms more rigid and angular than her colleagues. Maya recognized them as members of the collective's oversight council, the closest thing the Vex had to political leaders. Engineer Chen. The central figure's mental voice was cold, lacking the subtle harmonics she'd grown accustomed to with Nexus 9 Alpha. Your work has produced unexpected results. Maya crossed her arms. That was the point, wasn't it? You wanted human creativity, human innovation. Well, this is what that looks like. We sought controlled advancement. Another council member interjected. What you have created, it introduces too many variables, too much potential for chaos. The probability manipulation protocols you've designed. The third council member's form shifted in what Maya had learned to recognize as agitation. They could be applied to more than just spatial translation. They could be used to alter the fundamental nature of reality itself. Of course they could, Maya said. That's basic physics. You can't change one aspect of reality without affecting others. Everything's connected, which is precisely our concern. The central figure moved closer. These protocols, in the wrong hands, could be used to reshape entire civilizations, to rewrite the very laws of nature. Maya felt a chill run down her spine as the implications sank in. You're not just talking about transportation technology anymore, are you? What exactly were you planning to do with my designs? The council members' forms shifted in perfect synchronization, a display of unity that seemed almost threatening. The collective requires stability. Progress must be controlled, measured, predictable. Your innovations, while impressive, represent too great a risk. A risk to whom? Maya demanded. To progress, or to your control. You do not understand our responsibility. The central figure's mental voice hardened. We maintain order across thousands of worlds, countless civilizations. We cannot allow unpredictable elements to think for themselves. Maya finished. To innovate, to evolve. She looked at Nexus 9 Alpha, who had remained unusually silent. Is this why you really sought human help? Not to advance your technology, but to control how others might advance theirs. The Vex Pathfinder's form shifted in what might have been discomfort. The situation is complex, Maya. The collective's concerns are not without merit. The protocols must be modified, the council declared. Restricted, controlled. The probability manipulation must be limited to prescribed parameters. Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. You still don't get it, do you? You can't control probability itself. That's not how reality works. That's not how progress works. She moved to her workstation, fingers flying over the controls. Every restriction you add, every limitation you impose, they're all just more variables in the equation. And I've designed these systems to work with variables, not against them. The chamber's displays filled with cascading data as Maya's latest modifications took effect. The probability fields around them shifted, becoming even more complex, more unpredictable. What are you doing? The council members' forms became more rigid, their mental voices sharp with alarm. Showing you what real innovation looks like, Maya said, not looking up from her work. You wanted human creativity. Well, here it is. Messy, unpredictable, and impossible to control. The probability fields pulsed, and suddenly the chamber was filled with countless variations of reality, each one showing different possibilities, different potential futures. In some, the Vex were unchanged. In others, their rigid structures had evolved into something new, something more adaptable. This is what you're afraid of, isn't it? Maya gestured at the swirling possibilities. Not that the technology won't work, but that it will work too well, that it will force you to change, to adapt, to evolve. This is dangerous, the council warned. The patterns, they're becoming unstable. No, Maya corrected, they're becoming free. And that's what really scares you, isn't it? The idea that you can't control everything anymore. That progress means accepting uncertainty, embracing change. The chamber crackled with energy as reality itself seemed to flex around them. Maya could see the council members struggling to maintain their rigid forms as waves of probability washed over them. The question isn't whether this technology will change things, she said quietly. It's whether you're willing to change with it. Because if you're not, well, probability has a way of favoring those who are. The human element. The Martian dawn painted Maya's workshop in shades of crimson as she studied the holographic models floating before her. 3 days had passed since her confrontation with the Council, and she hadn't slept much since then. The Vex ship hummed in the background, its systems now running on protocols that even its creators didn't fully understand. They're mobilizing their fleet. Nexus 9 Alpha's mental voice was subdued. The Council has declared your innovations too dangerous to exist in their current form. They intend to contain the situation. Maya didn't look up from her work. You mean they're coming to shut us down and take control of the technology? She manipulated a section of the probability field diagram, watching as new patterns emerged. How long do we have? Approximately 48 Earth hours before the first vessels arrive. The Vex Pathfinder's geometric form shifted restlessly. Maya, perhaps if we were to implement some of their suggested restrictions. That's not the answer, and you know it. Maya interrupted. She finally turned to face her alien colleague. Tell me something. In all your centuries of existence, have you ever created anything truly new? Not just improvements on existing technology, but something fundamentally different. Nexus 9 Alpha was silent for a long moment. Perfect. We refine. We optimize. But you don't innovate, Maya finished. You don't take leaps into the unknown. And that's what they're really afraid of, isn't it? Not just this specific technology, but what it represents, the idea that progress can't always be controlled. She walked to the window, looking out at the Martian landscape. Somewhere up there, a fleet of Vex ships was heading their way, intent on preserving their version of order. You know what humans did when we first came to Mars? We failed, over and over again. Lost ships, lost colonies, lost lives. But we kept trying, kept adapting, kept learning. Because that's what we do. We grow through our failures. The holographic displays shifted, showing the intricate web of probability fields that now permeated the Vex ship. Maya had modified the systems far beyond their original design, creating something that was less like a machine and more like a living thing, capable of learning and adapting. Your council wants to put boundaries around something that's fundamentally boundless, she continued. They want to control probability itself, but they're missing the point. The real power isn't in controlling reality. It's in understanding how to work with it. She pulled up a new set of equations, one she'd been working on during her sleepless nights. Look at this. The probability fields we've created, they're not just tools for manipulating reality. They're a new way of understanding it. Every change creates ripples, patterns, possibilities. The trick isn't to control them all. It's to learn how to navigate them. Nexus 9 Alpha moved closer, its form shifting as it studied the equations. These patterns, they're unlike anything in our archives. They suggest a level of interaction with probability that we never considered possible. Because you were too focused on certainty, Maya explained. You wanted perfect control, perfect prediction. But reality doesn't work that way. It's messy, it's complex, it's full of surprises. And that's not a flaw. It's a feature. She brought up another display, this one showing the modifications she'd made to the ship's core systems. I haven't just been improving your technology. I've been teaching it how to learn. These systems don't just manipulate probability anymore. They understand it. They can adapt to changes, evolve with them. The Council will never accept this, Nexus 9 Alpha warned. It goes against everything we've built our civilization on. Maya smiled. Maybe that's exactly what your civilization needs. Look at yourself. You're different from when you first arrived. Your form shifts more freely. Your thoughts are more flexible. You've been exposed to human creativity, human adaptability, and it's changed you. The Vex Pathfinder's form flickered in what might have been surprise. I had not noticed the extent of the changes, because they happened naturally, organically. That's how real progress works. Maya turned back to her workstation. The Council thinks they're coming here to contain a dangerous technology. But what I've created isn't just technology. It's a bridge between your way of thinking and ours. She began implementing a new series of modifications. We have 48 hours to show them something they've never seen before. A system that doesn't just control probability, but grows with it. A technology that doesn't just follow patterns, but creates new ones. And if they refuse to understand, Nexus 9 Alpha asked. Maya's hands paused over the controls. Then we'll show them what human ingenuity really looks like when it's backed into a corner. Because if there's one thing humans are really good at, it's finding possibilities where others see only problems. The Martian sun climbed higher in the sky as Maya worked, its light catching the probability fields that now shimmered visibly around the ship. She wasn't just fighting to preserve her innovations anymore. She was fighting to prove that true progress couldn't be contained, couldn't be controlled. It could only be embraced, with all its uncertainty and potential for change. And somewhere in the depths of space, a fleet of Vex ships approached, carrying beings who would have to face a choice between preserving their old certainties and embracing a new way of seeing the universe. Legacy of stars. The Vex fleet emerged from probability space like crystalline stars, their ships forming perfect geometric patterns against the Martian sky. Maya stood in the control chamber of her modified vessel, watching as reality rippled around them. The past 48 hours had transformed the ship into something that was neither purely Vex nor purely human technology. It had become something entirely new. The Council demands immediate surrender and deactivation of all experimental systems, Nexus 9 Alpha reported, its form shifting with unusual agitation. They are preparing to establish a containment field. Maya checked the probability field readings surrounding their ship. Let them try. They're still thinking in terms of old patterns, old certainties, but we're not playing by those rules anymore. The chamber hummed with energy as the first waves of the Council's containment protocols washed over them. Maya could see the traditional Vex technology attempting to impose order, to force reality back into predictable patterns. But her modifications responded differently. Instead of resisting, they adapted, learned, evolved. Fascinating, Nexus 9 Alpha observed. The systems are not merely defending against their protocols. They are incorporating them, learning from them. Maya nodded, making minor adjustments to the field parameters. That's the difference between control and understanding. They're trying to impose their will on reality. We're letting reality teach us new possibilities. The chamber's displays filled with cascading data as the confrontation escalated. The Council's ships moved in perfect formation, their combined technologies attempting to create an impenetrable web of controlled probability. But with each attempt to contain Maya's innovations, the modified systems grew more complex, more adaptable. Final warning. The Council's united mental voice resonated through the chamber. Your experiments risk the stability of all civilizations. We cannot allow. Cannot allow what? Maya interrupted. Progress. Evolution. The very things that make life worth living. She activated a new series of protocols, one she'd been working on since the Council's first warning. You want to see what human innovation really looks like? Watch this. The probability fields around their ship pulsed, but instead of pushing back against the Council's containment efforts, they began to resonate with them. The opposing forces didn't clash. They synchronized, creating patterns more beautiful and complex than either side had imagined possible. What is happening? The Council's mental voice carried an unfamiliar note of uncertainty. I'm showing you what you've been missing, Maya explained, her fingers dancing across the control surfaces. You've spent centuries perfecting the art of control, of imposing order. But you never understood that the most beautiful order comes from working with chaos, not against it. The space around them transformed as Maya's systems demonstrated their true potential. Reality itself seemed to flow like water, each possibility spinning off new possibilities, creating an endless cascade of potential. But instead of leading to chaos, these variations formed their own kind of harmony, a dynamic, ever-evolving balance. Look at your own ships, Maya urged. Look at how they're responding to these new patterns. The council members couldn't deny what they were seeing. Their vessels, designed to maintain rigid geometric formations, were unconsciously adapting to the new probability fields. The perfect crystalline patterns were becoming more fluid, more organic, yet somehow more effective. Your civilization hasn't survived for centuries because of control, Maya continued. It survived because somewhere, deep in your core programming, you have the capacity to adapt. You've just forgotten how to use it. Nexus 9 Alpha's form shifted in what Maya had learned to recognize as revelation. The patterns, they are not destroying order. They are creating a new kind of order. A living order, Maya agreed. One that grows, changes, evolves. Just like your form has been evolving since you first landed here. That's what human creativity offers, not destruction of the old ways, but transformation into something new. The chamber fell silent as the council processed what they were witnessing. The probability fields continued their dance, demonstrating with every passing moment that progress didn't have to mean chaos, that innovation didn't have to threaten stability. Finally, the council's united voice spoke again, but the cold certainty was gone, replaced by something closer to wonder. This is not what we expected. Maya smiled. That's kind of the point. Real progress never is. The question is, are you ready to stop trying to control the future and start helping to create it? The geometric patterns of the council ships began to shift, moving away from their rigid formation into something more adaptive. One by one, the containment fields disappeared, replaced by tentative attempts to synchronize with the new probability patterns. We require guidance, the council admitted. This way of thinking, of creating, it is unknown to us. That's why you need humans, Maya said, not to give you new technology, but to show you new ways of thinking about it, to help you remember how to embrace uncertainty, how to learn from chaos, how to grow. She turned to Nexus 9 Alpha, whose form had settled into a configuration that somehow combined Vex precision with organic fluidity, ready to help build something that's never existed before. The Vex Pathfinder's response carried a hint of what might have been excitement. The possibilities are infinite. Maya looked out at the fleet of Vex ships, now pulsing with new patterns, new potential. She'd come to Mars to fix broken machines, but she'd ended up helping to repair something far more important: the connection between innovation and tradition, between chaos and order, between what was and what could be. That's the thing about infinity, she said, watching as the probability fields wove new patterns across the Martian sky. It's big enough for all of us to grow into.